gone over the top and just put everything we can on it. As many attachments as we possibly can, so much that even Special Forces would laugh at it. Hi, I'm Alex Pitts. I'm from the Combined Military Services Museum in Essex. I look after the collection of over 600 firearms here. I've been involved here for 6 years, and then I've been involved with firearms for over 10 years. We're going to be looking at the M16 in video games. So we've got the M16 that it's called in the game. That is a designation for them. There's little bits and pieces that look like maybe a different model mishmashed together. This is a model 602, which is a very early one, not exactly the one that we're looking at in the game. One of the other things is we've got a good amount of camouflage all over the rifle. So it's definitely something that a small amount of soldiers would have done. Purpose in that, you break up the silhouette of the rifle because you see a soldier full of camouflage carrying a black object that looks gun-shaped. You don't really want your enemies to know that you've got a gun on you, so you break it up, make it look like it's something else, a tool, something maybe farmers carry, then you don't look like a combatant.
They made it so it takes a suppressor too.
Yep. That's a nice feature to have for a recon unit on a sneaking mission deep in enemy territory.
So we've got a small debriefing of the XM16E1 shown in game. We've been told as well that it's a modified one. Probably explains why there's little bits and pieces here and there that don't add up for it to be a standard XM16. Interestingly, we've been told that it uses a suppressor on the end of it. These weren't originally made for that. You need to test if this thing is actually any good before you start thinking about extra added things for special forces, special operations kinds of things.
Oh, and the firing mechanism's been modified to enable 3-shot bursts.
Why the hell would they do that?
3-round burst has been added to his rifle specifically. The XM16 and even the version I have here don't have 3-round burst on them. That didn't really become a standard until the 80s, though there were versions earlier on that did allow for 3-round burst. Absolutely, as we've been told, the idea was new recruits were going to waste all their ammo using full auto with it, miss all their shots. They needed something to improve the accuracy of it. Again, new people don't really know how to use full auto weapons, and 3-round burst would be officially adopted, but not for the XM16. As much as the 3-round burst stayed on until I believe 2014, I have to agree with Snakey in that it's a stupid idea.
Stupid idea, if you ask me.
Hey, give it a chance. It might come in handy.
There's a bit of an odd mechanism that has to be put inside it that's awkward and just not a great thing to have in there, and it's not really necessary. Semi-auto, perfect for these. One of the biggest issues I have with it already, sights. I think they have this problem in a lot of the very popular games where the rear sight, the aperture sight, is ginormous. There's a giant hole in it, in which they probably do this for gameplay, in which you've got a big field of view, you can see all your opponents, as opposed to the very closed off sights in the actual rifles. But then the purpose of that is they need to be very accurate. Looks good though, but as I say, sights way off, completely wrong. So we've seen that the character has what's called jungle mags, where what is done is tape 2 magazines back to back. This was something that was very popular in the Vietnam War period. It wasn't a common thing, you weren't taught to do it, and not every soldier ended up doing it, but there was a good amount of them. You can find lots of pictures, lots of documents that say about soldiers doing this. This was mainly due to the limited size of the 20-round magazines. The 30-round magazines did exist from about 1970 onwards. The 20-round ones everywhere. You'd find them everywhere, and they run out of rounds pretty quickly. 20 doesn't last you particularly long, which is why the 20-round magazines were eventually out of favour for the 30-round magazines. So we've got the Feral Burst, some sort of special edition M16. It's covered in stuff, and it looks like someone's dropped it in the mud and then dropped it in a pile of attachments and gone, there you go, that'll do. For the time period, 1960s, 1970s, there'd almost been no attachments or accessories really for these that existed, because again, it's a brand new rifle and you'd just have standard issue for the Air Force, the Army, the Navy and the Marines. So we have the M16 Mod 0 in Ready or Not. I've grabbed a Car 15 just as a quick representation for it. They all fall under the category of carbine or short rifle. The M16 Mod 0 is a more modern version of this, essentially, where you can affix attachments all over it. Again, carry handle comes off, you can put sights on the top of there. One of the things I've noticed, whether they've done this specifically for this gun or all of the guns, there's a lot of muzzle flash, a lot of sparks coming out of it. It's actually quite correct. When you shorten the barrel of a rifle, you do get more of a tendency that the powder from the cartridge will burn outside of the end of the barrel. Because you've shortened it, it's not had enough time to burn all of the powder whilst going through the barrel. There's more chance this will happen, bigger muzzle flashes, hence why you can actually see on this version with a nice moderator to reduce that. But it's definitely a really cool feature they've added there. It's nice that they've done it in the dark as well, so it can really light up the room, make it feel real tense. One of the clips we've seen shows someone being shot and the bullet penetrating through and showing blood on the wall behind, and the bullet then also hitting the wall. Absolutely, yeah. These are very high velocity cartridges that are meant to do that. They go straight through. You'll hear the term full metal jacket. This usually means a cartridge that when the bullet is fired, it stays together. When it hits the target, it stays together. It also has a bit more of a chance and tendency to be able to penetrate through walls in the first place. Again, all to do with speed. Speed penetrates through things, so it's good to see in the game. We've got that penetration going through brick walls. In a lot of games you'll see walls are designed and they're impenetrable by everything, but 5.56, yeah, it definitely has a bigger tendency, and it's cool to see it in the game. Nice little feature. So we've got Payday 2, and we've got a monstrosity of an M16. First of all, the original model of it is definitely a mismatch of different ones, and then we've gone over the top and just put everything we can on it. As many attachments as we possibly can, so much that even special forces would laugh at it. I can't see this being used properly. This could be something that someone owns in a personal collection just for a bit of fun, not actually something that's feasible to be used. I'm stopping it there. Started off well. I liked the original M4A1. It looked quite accurate to the weapon, but then we've gone to the Space Trooper, it's called, where it's not even an M4 anymore. We've changed every other piece of it and couldn't be more disappointed. It looked really accurate at first. The gunplay, the sights even looked a bit better. They're still a little bit too wide on the rear sight, but the Space Trooper version, yeah, I don't know what to say about that one other than I'd rather have this. Overall, looking at the M16 depicted in different games, it seems to be that a lot of games take on board the fact that it's a very small cartridge that doesn't do massive amounts of damage, takes multiple shots. It's good representations of them, but what I can say is I never want to see the Space Trooper gun again, as long as I live.
For more videos like this one, make sure to check out Alex reacting to the guns in Sons of the Forest or the original Resident Evil 4.